Hello and welcome back to the VAR You Serious podcast, episode number 2. Welcome back, Pops. How you doing?
Good. It's been a good week. How about you?
Good. Busy as always, but another good week here. A little bit of a slow week, I'd say, in
I
terms of the football, right?
think I see. Yeah, kind of. But I think more importantly, real quick, I think I see you wearing a shirt that I might have.
Oh, we got the Celtic jersey on. Yes, the one you
Well,
got me.
I did. I did. In fact, it's a beautiful jersey. Gotta love those green hoops.
Hey, straight from Scotland too, right?
Yeah, directly from.
There you go. Exactly. It's authentic then. But I wouldn't say I support Celtic, but got to wear the jersey. Like you said, nice looking jersey. So can't complain too much about that. But yes, like I was saying, Dad, I think kind of a slow week in football here. We're going into the international break. Not much to watch. Maybe some MLS. I don't know. Do you have anything you're looking forward to watching?
I'm watching the U.S. men's national team. I think they play Saturday and Tuesday, and I'm all over that.
That's right. That's right. We'll be on top of that. We'll see how it goes with this new squad we talked about last week. But yeah, in terms of kind of big things, the transfer window kind of just closed. Obviously, that's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
Teams wrapped up their final business of the season. Super important stuff happening. Obviously, Arsenal got their first Ecuadorian ever over the line, Piero Hincapi, I believe is how you pronounce it. So excited to see him. Obviously, guys like Alexander Isak. There was a lot of movement. I don't know if you were paying attention too, but as I was scrolling threads, it was a new deal every second.
Yeah, a lot going on. I think we're gonna be our one thing today is gonna be the crazy amount of money spent. So yeah, I mean, listen, if teams want to spend that money and they want to try to make their team better, hey, go for it. Although I'm a little concerned about the fact that not every team can do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely an interesting paradigm we have going on in the world of football right now. A giant business, shall we say, is what it's becoming. And Dad, as you said, we actually do have our one big thing this week. FIFA brought back some huge data to the public. So if we look at it real quick here, FIFA reported a record-breaking 9.6 billion in global transfer spending this summer, which is 50% higher than in 2024. Also, the women's side of things saw a huge jump, up, I believe, $12 million, which is unheard of. We also had the record transfer of 1.5 million over on the women's side. So we're kind of seeing money go all over the place on both sides of the sport. I think great to see on the women's side, kind of seeing the value of the sport on that side go up. But on the men's side, we're talking ridiculous amounts of money. We're talking a Fortune 500 level company amount of money just for the transfer of players. Um, I mean, I don't know what you think about all of it, but it's just so much money. I don't even think I can fathom that amount of money. I can't even fathom $1 million being transferred from one person or one team to another.
Right. Uh it's crazy. I don't think it's sustainable at all. Like you said, 50% higher than last year. That simply cannot continue. I don't think. Maybe there's a lot more money tucked away in these owners' couches than I realize. I was sort of surprised by the women's figure. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the women's game. We're going to talk about the WSL today a little bit.
Yeah.
When I heard the figure, I was like 12 mil, like, whoa, that is a tiny figure compared to the men. Like I thought that gap was closing, and I think it will over time. But wow, the difference is insane. But yeah, both sides in their own way. If you look at the percentage comparison, I just don't think it's sustainable at all, and it concerns me, especially for teams that can't really keep up. Smaller market teams, they just can't keep up with the Arsenals and the Chelseas and the Liverpools of the world.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right there, but What I would say is, it is a business at the end of the day. Anyone can buy these clubs. Anyone can put their money in. We're seeing it with teams like Wrexham and Birmingham lower down the English pyramid. I mean, you got guys like Tom Brady, Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhenney getting other investors in for billions of dollars to these small clubs. And
Yeah.
Dad, I've been to Wrexham. I've seen the stadium. That's a small town. That is not like a big town. I mean, it's near bigger cities. Um, in England, it's not too far from Manchester and Liverpool, but that actual town is small, and they are having billions of dollars pumped into that team. So it does kind of show you it's not a I don't know if it's a level playing field, but I think there's an opportunity for a lot of clubs to be in the conversation if they wanna be, if they can get that money.
Well, I think they can be in the conversation. I just don't think they can be on equal footing. And those are two different things, right? The old saying, keeping up with the Joneses, right? I can go into all sorts of debt and try to buy a bigger house and drive a nicer car. But, we discussed last week some of the troubles that they're having in La Liga, and Barcelona. Like, you can pretend you've got a lot of money, but let me see your balance sheet. How much debt are you incurring? And that's why I just don't think it's sustainable. Some of these organizations, the Fenway Sports Group, Liverpool, perhaps they can do it. I just don't think all these teams can handle it. And lower teams, smaller towns, they have to be super careful or they go out of business. Like that's it. They're not going to somehow cling to life like a Barcelona.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you there too, but I think we just go back to the point of business here. There's always going to be your Liverpools, your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids. Even if you're a Barcelona that's hurting, your brand and your capital, it won't ever matter. The club culturally is almost worth too much value for it to ever fail. And maybe that's the problem we're more talking about is these huge clubs that can't fail. Whereas a Wrexham or Birmingham City technically could fail, right? Like they have the potential to fail if they don't produce. But Liverpool, like you said, it's part of a sports conglomerate, and I don't think they can fail at this point. They have other businesses backing them up. And Dad, crazy figure here. They spent 446 million pounds on incoming transfers this year. Now, don't discount. I think they had somewhere over 200 million in exits as well. We're talking Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz. They got rid of some big players too, but
Yeah.
446 million. That's the most a club has ever spent in any window ever. So to your point, unprecedented amounts of money going in and out of world football this year.
If we could turn a little bit to the women, just because, like I said, I'm a big fan of the women's game. I coach women's soccer. I just found out this week, actually, one of my former players is now playing in the Super League in Greece. And so that's really exciting for her. Of course, I got a player who plays in NWSL. So I'm very interested in the women's game. And, I think you asked this idea about is this going to drag women into the same bubble? I think this bubble's a lot smaller, but clearly the bubble is forming,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know, like NWSL has been very careful to build methodically. What has it been? Maybe 13, 14 years since they started.
Yeah.
They're up to like 14 teams now, I think. Obviously, Denver will get a team next year. They've been really methodical about it. And I guarantee you, these teams don't have ton of financial room, so they better be careful. They don't. I mean, this is not the first women's
But
league in America, and
yeah,
others have failed. They're further along, but they better be careful.
I think no, I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, there's always investors going towards the opportunity, and I think you're saying that exactly right now, but I don't think what you're seeing is, yeah, NWSL is being methodical, but we're seeing for the first time that's not happening really anywhere else in the world. We're seeing women's teams really get their own stadium. We're talking Kansas City, we're talking Denver. I mean, I really the only other sport and league that jumps to the top of mind that has done that is Las Vegas, the Aces, play in their own arena in Vegas.
Right.
I don't believe they play in T-Mobile, at least yet. But then you even look at that. We'll go into basketball a little bit, just to give a good example and comparison. But Caitlin Clark and all the stars of that league are growing it exponentially, and you're seeing the amount of money skyrocket up. So I think it's sometimes you can't control the rise, and it just happens. And maybe that's what it's doing. But I can see your point that they need to be careful, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, record women's transfer that I did want to say. Lisbeth Oval, I don't know where she went. I probably should have looked at that, but $1.5 million compared to Alexander Isak's 130 million pounds or 125 million, depending on what source you're looking at. But I think it's a little ridiculous. But good for Liverpool, I guess. They're looking like they might win it all again.
Yep, they got the big win against Arsenal on Saturday on an amazing free kick. So they have the early lead in the horse race that is the Premier League.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Are these fees just going to continue to rise? Are they going to plateau? Like, where do you think this goes?
I mean, I think there's only so much money left in the world to have it keep going up, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't make anyone anywhere near that kind of money, and you're telling me a player's getting transferred that for that amount. Like, maybe I just don't understand the global economy enough, but it's going to be interesting to kind of see where it goes and see what happens. But what do you think? I mean, there is inflation, there's some other stuff, but I don't know if it can go up much more.
I don't want to see it burst. I love the fact that soccer is growing more worldwide. The women's game is growing worldwide. I love it. I just like any business, I just don't think it's sustainable. I don't think everyone's going to collapse. I don't think all these big teams are going to disappear, but I think there's going to be casualties, right? I mean, going back to the financial crisis back in 2008, no, oh, they're all too big to fail, and yet Lehman Brothers is gone, right?
Yeah.
So someone or someone's teams are going to fail or at
And
least you know, get relegated or whatever the case might be. It just I don't see it lasting forever at all.
but I mean, maybe it's an evolvement and an adaptation, or maybe these leagues don't want the team to fail and they're going to make sure they don't fail. I think we can maybe see that a little bit with Manchester City, still having no punishments around their financial charges and basically essentially being fraudulent for 10 years of
You
financial
wait,
accounting.
I don't know, Man City. I thought they were called 115 FC.
That
You're,
is
you're
that is your name for him. If Tim's watching, he probably will not love that fact. But yeah, I mean, I think it's true, right? Like, are they too big to fail? Like, is there like sports and the actual global economy, I think, do differ a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of money, right? I guess I mean there's only a certain amount of resources. So when does it fail? Does it fail at all? Maybe that's something we can't answer.
all right. I want to move on to the underdog of the week. I'm always excited for underdog of the week.
I hear you. I hear you. And I think we were kind of touching on some underdogs as well. Talking in the transfer window. If you're not Liverpool, you're pretty much an underdog because you're not spending that amount of money, right? Um,
Just about.
but yeah, I think we have some really good ones this week, Dad. I'm going to let you kind of kick it off. I mean, it was a crazy last weekend of football.
Yeah, I was gonna pick Udinese over Inter Milan, San Siro, the site of another big upset.
What's going
Um,
on with Milan teams?
right, some kind of bad juju with Milan right now, but I'm sure they'll right the ship. Um, but and it's not on our list, so I'm going to surprise you a little bit. And other people might think I'm crazy, but we just talked about 115 FC. Man City loses again. And I
Yeah.
realize it's early in the season. It's only 3 matches in, but first game 4-0 over Wolverhampton, I believe. And then the last 2 games, they've looked not good at all. And so
Yeah,
while, Brighton is a solid top half of the table club, so it's not a huge upset, and it was at
yeah.
home. It was at the Amex, which I've been to, and it's an exciting place to play. The crowd brings it. Um, you still expect a team like Man City to rebound from a loss, and come out and win, and they weren't able to do that. And so, have have coaches figured out Pep a little bit? I mean,
I
might be jumping
I
the
think
gun here a
maybe to
bit.
an extent, right? Like, is it Pep or is it the players? I mean, we're also talking iconic players no longer starting or playing for Manchester City. We're talking Ederson is probably going to leave. We're talking Kyle Walker. He's old now, but he's playing for Burnley. I mean, and then
Yeah.
you got De Bruyne playing over in Napoli. Like,
Yep.
there's no longer these legendary players holding him up. And, as much as I hate to say it, Holland is an amazing player, but he needs those guys around him. He doesn't create for himself. Right. And I think he may have missed some chances that game, some pretty big ones. I don't know if you were watching. Um,
Yeah, I
but
saw some highlights.
he missed some big ones, and it's like,
Yep.
if he's off and the rest of the team's off, what's going on? And I mean, let's not put down Brighton like you said either. Brighton's a fantastic club, so well run, somehow manages to always figure it out. I mean, James Milner, who scored, is I think 8 years or 7 years older than their manager.
He scored in, like, 4 different decades or something ridiculous now.
It would be like if you were playing and I was coaching you. Like, it's ridiculous. Maybe not that big. Maybe not that big of a gap, but
No, not quite. So who's your, so I went with Man City this week, kinda surprised
very
you a little
nice.
bit. Who are you
Yeah.
picking? Who's your underdog of the week?
Well, I mean, before I get right to my underdog, just to finish that thought off, I do think Pep is losing his powers a little bit. Do I think Man City is going to have a terrible season? No, by no means. No. 3 games in, like you said, it's early. They can turn things around, and they spent a boatload of money. Those players, I think, will turn out good in time, but we shall see. Good job to Brighton as well. I also had some fun ones here that I wanted to bring up, but I think the most important one to bring up, especially with the clip we posted earlier in the week, actually is bringing it back here to the States and Seattle Sounders upsetting Inter Miami in the League's Cup, also known as the most lopsided cup anywhere in the world because all the Mexican teams just have to play in the United States for a month and a half.
Yeah, not very fair. Um, you called it an
That's why we
upset.
saw 2 MLS teams, though.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You called it an upset. I call it an ass whooping.
Yeah.
Seattle Sounders looked damn good in that game. It was impressive.
Yeah, I think what's his name? Paul Rothrock, their number 10. Unbelievable player, honestly. Looked fantastic. I saw this on the internet as well. Seattle was doing the best marketing scheme I think I've seen in a while. Anyone wearing a Lionel Messi jersey was able to trade it in for a number 10 Paul Rothrock jersey for free.
Well, I can't imagine a lot of people took them up on that offer, but that is kind of genius.
I think maybe not, but I think it is genius. It creates hype. And I think it motivated the team. They don't care. They don't care about Messi and Suarez and all them, especially, with Suarez being a sore loser. And I think all those guys being sore losers at the end of the day. But I
Well,
think that's why I wanted to
Busquets,
bring the
yeah.
game up. Seattle by no means, I think, is an underdog. And that's me almost disrespecting them. They have won MLS titles. They're arguably maybe the most historic MLS club in the country. You could argue LA Galaxy and a few other teams, but I mean, we've been to multiple games as well. That's a historic franchise and will end up being a very historic club. They were in the Club World Cup this summer too.
Yep.
So deserved win for them. But definitely the underdogs going against Messi and co, I think.
All right. What's next?
Well, next up on the docket, once again, shout out Seattle and Brighton. Great games this past week. Next up on the docket, though, we already talked about it a little bit. Women's football is becoming huge across the globe, absolutely huge. And I think we need to give it a little bit more love and a little bit more attention. And that's why, actually, even though we have an international break with some important qualifiers on the men's side, uh, we have a big weekend of WSL starting up over in England and a huge game to kick it off on Friday. We have Chelsea, the reigning champions, playing against Manchester City. Now, Dad, first thing I wanted to ask you about this. We know a decent bit about Chelsea because the U.S. women's national team has their former manager, Emma Hayes. But clearly it did not hurt them last year. By far and away, they were the best team in the league. Arsenal won the Women's Champions League, but they're the best team in the WSL. So what do you think kind of about going into this, especially as a coach of women's soccer?
I'm glad you threw Arsenal out there just because they did win the Champions League. But what did we finish, second or third in the Women's Super League?
I believe we ended up pipping into second.
Okay. Um, you know, this is fantastic that these games are starting to get the kind of attention they're getting. Um, a lot of these women's teams, I think, are starting to play in the regular stadiums more and more, and they're filling them up.
I think all of Arsenal's home games, just to point that out, all of Arsenal women's home games this year are in Emirates.
Right. And that is an amazing sign of positivity. I'll tell you, obviously Chelsea is a darn good team. And Man City, though, I remember watching part of the League Cup final between Chelsea and Man City last year, sponsored by Subway, which I find interesting that Subway somehow snuck into the Women's Super League over there in Europe. But okay.
Hey,
Um,
good for them. Good for them.
but I mean, Chelsea is dominant in their own way, but in that game, Man City looked pretty darn good. And if I recall, Man City, I think one of Chelsea's goals was an own goal by Man City, a deflection, and I think
Yeah.
their other goal was some other kind of deflection, that a little bit of luck. And obviously, a little bit of luck never hurt. But I don't know if the gap between a Chelsea and a Man City and Arsenal and so on is that big. I think it might be smaller than we think.
Yeah, and no doubt, I believe the league was actually really close last year, Dad, to your point. Man City finished in fourth. Not like they're a bad women's team at all. Also, to your point, I don't think they're really playing in the Etihad at all, but they actually play in their own stadium in Manchester. A little bit, definitely smaller, but they play in their
Yeah.
own stadium. And there's money behind that club. We know that. So if anything, I can applaud them on the fact that they're putting money into their women's team and doing that. And I think, yeah, you're seeing a lot of fun growth on the women's side from both of these teams. The big teams really getting involved in it, but also on the independent side of things. I think a lot of people forget the English football pyramid's the same on both sides, and you can start a new club and bring it right to the top if you wanted to and had the money. And one point I wanted to bring up while we talk about this is London City Lionesses playing Arsenal the opening weekend. This is an independent women-run club. It is owned by a woman. I'm blanking on her name right now, and I probably should have looked it up. But
I think her last name, it's an Asian woman. I think her name is Kang.
yes, no, I
And
think you're correct.
she owns multiple clubs, doesn't she?
I'm pretty sure she owns Leon, if I'm not incorrect.
And I think it's the third club
Um,
she owns.
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic. These clubs kind of coming in and making statements, and London City Lionesses should be great. It's a new team. We don't have that in the men's Premier League. I think it's awesome. But getting back to Chelsea and City, we're talking two historic clubs now, technically on the women's side, two historic clubs. I think Chelsea, at the end of the day, is clearly just such a strong team, especially in the league format, that I can't really go against them. I do think they're probably going to win this game to open up the season 2-0. And that's not a slight against City. I just think Chelsea and their women's team is that good. I think Chelsea and their women's team could compete on a lot of fronts this year. So that's kind of my prediction for the weekend, but would love to try and watch it honestly and get some more eyes on the women's game.
So you made a prediction, after last week. What did I call for Arsenal Liverpool 2-2
You
tied? I
said
was wrong.
2-2. I
You
said
you
I
got
said 1-0 to Arsenal. It was flipped.
you were closer, but you were wrong. So these predictions, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna not make a prediction, and
Okay,
I'm also gonna say that whatever happens in this first game is not necessarily gonna be indicative of the whole season, right? People
for
expect
sure.
Chelsea to win, so if Chelsea wins, there you go. Man City gets in, steals a draw, steals a point, great. But I for one, I'm gonna hold off on a prediction this week because we did not do well last week. So you are brave to make a prediction this week, my friend.
Hey, I'll ride with my prediction, whether it's wrong or right. You know, it's my opinion. It's just what I think going into the game. But nonetheless, like you said, I think it's gonna be a great game. And I think what's also gonna be great is a new segment that we have right now as well, Dad. You're bringing this to the table. None of this is my doing, so I'm gonna let you take the floor here.
So I either get all the credit or all the blame. This is awesome.
Yeah,
So
that's what you take.
I'm looking at my phone here because I don't have the Premier League table memorized. So that's what
Okay.
I'm looking down at. And maybe one of these days when we get really fancy, we can put like a graphic or something up here for the viewers. Listeners couldn't see it anyway. But anyway, so obviously it's early. Once again, only 3 games into the season. But I'm going to tell you a team. And I'll tell you what place they're in. You may already know, you may not. And I want you to tell me, speaking of predictions, I don't need an exact prediction. All you got to do is say whether they're going to finish the season higher or lower than their
Okay.
current place on the table.
I
So,
like it.
like, say higher or lower, give me like a quick 1 or 2 sentences, and then
Yep.
let's move on because I want to do like maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 of these. All
Okay.
right.
We'll make it quick. We'll make it quick.
All right. In fifth place, Everton, higher or lower?
Lower. They look great right now, but there's no way they're getting into the top five. There's too much quality at the top. But Everton has looked great, so good on them.
How about that Jack Grealish, huh? New life.
4 assists already. Pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
All right. I'm not going to necessarily go in order here.
Okay.
We were just talking about Manchester City currently sitting in 13th place in the Premier League. Higher or lower?
It's higher. They're not at the Spurs or Manchester United level of last season. They have a ton of quality. They have arguably the best manager of all time. They'll be higher than 13th. They're fine.
Okay, I'm giving you some easy ones there. Um,
Yep.
Next one. I had a few of these in mind, but um, Crystal Palace, 8th place. Higher or lower?
If they had kept Eze, I would say was 100% a chance they go higher. Mark Gahey is England's best center back. One of the best center backs, I think, on the planet. I think he's so underrated. It's criminal. Almost had his deadline day moved to Liverpool, got cut off because Crystal Palace couldn't get in a replacement in time, which I've heard he's upset about. But he's going to be playing at Crystal Palace at least till January. And then Oliver Glasner, amazing manager, as well, has done so well at that club. But I think asking them to be higher than eighth place, that would be their best Premier League finish ever, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to say lower than eighth. I don't think they'll be much lower. I think 10th is super attainable for that team still. They brought in some good replacements for Eze, but losing Eze, that hurts team chemistry quite a bit.
And last one.
All right.
I think this is going to be a tough one, but maybe not.
Okay.
Brentford is sitting in 15th. Higher or lower?
I really liked Brentford's business towards the end of the window. I really liked their kind of ambition. I believe they went for Maximilian Bayer. He's a great young player out of Dortmund. They didn't end up getting him in, but they put in a club record bid for him. It shows they want to stay in the league. They lost a lot of continuity in that team. They lost Embuemo. They lost Vissa. They lost Norgard to Arsenal, their captain. They lost Thomas Frank, the best manager in the club's history. Like, they lost so much. And I don't want to see Brentford leave the Premier League. I think similar to Brighton, similar to Bournemouth, similarly to Crystal Palace, unbelievably run club, great stadium. I've been in person, great fans. I'm gonna say lower than 15th, but they're not going to get relegated. To put that stipulation
So
on there.
16th or 17th then is what you're saying.
I think they could slot in 16th. I think they're better than the bottom, especially with how bad some teams have already looked. I mean, we're talking Aston Villa has looked terrible the first 3 games. Like, I don't think we really know who the worst team is yet. Sunderland came out and won the first game against West Ham, then got beat by Burnley. West Ham got crushed their first couple games, then destroyed Nottingham Forest on the road this past week 3-0. I don't think we know who's going to get relegated. So I'm going to say 16th, just a little bit lower for Brentford to finish it out.
All right. I like it. Maybe we'll come back to that midpoint of the season or something. And then, of course,
It,
if we had an
the,
assistant, which we don't, we would keep track of this, and then we would see how you did by the end of the season. I'll keep track of it. I'll do something. So, all right, we got to move on to
I
our last
actually,
segment.
you know what? No. I'm not letting you move on yet because I'm not going to let you not answer one here.
Okay.
Um, because I wasn't aware of the segment going into it, but I think now you have one to answer or a couple to answer maybe. I'm gonna do some tough ones here. Manchester United sitting in ninth place, higher or lower?
Um, can I call it a push? Can they just stay in ninth? No.
You could.
I thought Man U looked really good against Arsenal. I think they have the capability, certainly, of being a top half of the table team. Uh, do I think they're going to go higher than ninth? Yeah, I'm going to let them slide into seventh or eighth. I think they'll pull it together. I think they're in better shape than they were last year.
I like it. I like it. Eighth place. All right. We'll do this one. I think it's such an interesting club. They didn't get much deals done until the last day, but Fulham currently sitting in 18th. London club, relatively big club, historic club, higher or lower than 18th. I mean, they're struggling to start the year.
Well, obviously, I love me some Fulham because Robinson plays there, right? So,
Yeah.
want him to always do well. I think Fulham finishes higher. I don't know about how much higher, but they were a good team last year. I think they're a survivor kind of group, club. So yeah, I think Fulham finishes higher. Not a lot higher, but they finish higher.
Okay. Fair enough. I like those picks. I mean, I think they're both possible, but we'll see. There's so much unknown. I was just noticing, yeah, we got Aston Villa in 19th, we got Newcastle in 17th right now. I mean, the table's all over the place. Too early to tell what's actually going to happen. I remember a couple seasons ago, Arsenal was in 20th, I think, after 4 or 5 games. So things can turn around, things can change. It's so early, but love
Just
that
having a little
segment,
fun.
Dad. Yeah, yes. I love that segment, though. Definitely something I think we need to continue doing. Maybe for the other leagues. Let us know if you want us to do it for La Liga, Liga. Some of these other leagues we may not know as much about. It could be more fun just to throw our picks in and see what we can figure out. But Dad, I think we're
Absolutely.
on to our last segment of the night here. Um, and I think it's an interesting one this week. It's our VAR You Serious Moment of the week. And I have a feeling we're just talking about Barcelona a lot on these first 2 podcasts, but there's always a story with that club, and I don't know why, um, especially in this realm. And thank you for bringing this to the table. Super interesting story. Something Barcelona has been criticized for in the past, but this one was out of their control. Um, you sent it over to me. Rayo Vallecano, they earned a draw with Barcelona. Great result for them as a club. Usually kind of more mid-table, lower mid-table in La Liga. But their match on Sunday, it was kind of marred by a breakdown in the VAR system, which left officials unable to check the penalty call on Lamine Yamal. And Lamine Yamal ended up scoring that penalty kick, which meant the game finished in a 1-1 draw. But Metal Pro or Media Pro, sorry, the company who administers VAR in La Liga, confirmed after the game that the technology was not working in the first half. Now, before you answer, that sounds so sketchy to me that it wasn't working in the first half. I understand VAR cannot work, or technology in general can glitch, right? Things can happen, totally understandable. But that's fishy that they only called it out for the first half. And the one decisive moment in the game happened in the first half for a penalty kick for Barcelona. And I was looking up some stuff on Barcelona too, Dad. Their own fan accounts, people who watched the game, said Rayo Vallecano played better. There was a chance Rayo Vallecano was going to win this game, and they lost 2 points, potentially because of VAR being out, completely out. So my question to you, Dad, VAR You Serious? What do we think here? Yellow card, red card, everything's fine. What do we think?
Um, I'm going straight red.
Yeah,
I This is ridiculous.
yeah.
Obviously, you know, VAR is controversial. People will say, "Oh, but it gets it right almost all the time." The thing wasn't even working. Like, it's not
Yeah.
that the refs did something wrong. The system was down, and I realize technology, these things happen, right? But to me, it's I don't know if people knew before the game. I don't know how quickly during the beginning of the game they knew it was down. I'm not sure if it would have been better just not use the system the whole game. Um, or once they realized, I realized suspending a match is a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's some big conspiracy. Although with the corruption we see in FIFA, you never know. But I don't think so. I just think this is another example of how video technology is one not as reliable as we think. Human error as far as how the refs use it, or their perspective on this stuff, and then now the system doesn't even work. It's like someone like pulled the plug and is laughing because the system is down for the first half. um I mean, I would be, and I know they are, Rayo Vallecano is outraged. And I don't know how La Liga fixes it. I don't think they can give up a point or take a point away or whatever.
Well, do we
um
think they fixed it for Barcelona?
Once again, in this particular case, I'm not going conspiracy theory. I'm just thinking this is another strike against video technology. I don't know how you
Absolutely.
change it to make it a lot better. I realize it gets it right most of the time, but this feels icky. Like
Yeah.
this. I mean, you feel bad for a club that doesn't need that needs help, that can use the break. Barcelona doesn't need any help,
Yeah.
right? They don't need that kind of luck on their
They've been
side.
given breaks. They've been given breaks, whether it's financially or in games before. We've seen it. Right. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. And it's funny. I mean, we have our podcast named after VAR, and I think sometimes it does the right thing, but it was supposed to make reffing easier, and I think it's made it more confusing, if anything. But the unfortunate thing in this situation is it wasn't even available. to check anything, which it's supposed to be there
Nope.
for. Now, was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty? I think that's up for a debate. I watched the clip. I think it's kind of inconclusive, hard to tell. Would Barcelona have scored later in the game? Potentially. It's a great team. I mean, Lamine Yamal, one of the best players in the world at 17, 18 years old now. Um, they probably would have scored, sure. But we're talking a lot of hypotheticals here that we don't know. And
Yeah.
all we know is the game was 1-0 at the time when that wasn't working. And I'm going to disagree with you, Dad. I'm all for the conspiracy theories on Barcelona. I've never liked them as a club. I've never liked what they've been about. I think Arsenal, for example, has been screwed over by them. A lot of teams in England have been screwed over playing them before. I remember Arsenal played them in the Champions League when I was younger. Robin van Persie couldn't hear the whistle at the Camp Nou, shot the ball because he still couldn't hear it. It was so loud. And the ref gave him a red card and sent him off for kicking the ball, which is
Yeah.
funny because we've seen Declan Rice also sent off for that now. Never seen anyone else be sent off for it, but that's another story. Then, Chelsea, there's an infamous game where Chelsea and Barcelona played, and the ref was getting it so wrong. Didier Drogba was in the face of the ref at the end of the game. Many Chelsea players were. I think we see a pattern with Barcelona where it's hard not to wonder what's going on. They have the financial trouble, but they still somehow sign all these players. They have all these iffy games. I think they're the club with the most of them, honestly, that I can remember off the top of my head, where it's like, what's going on here? Um, and like you said, I do agree with you on the fact I feel bad for Rayo Vallecano. They deserved, maybe a win in this game and a historic win, if nothing else, for them. But they were kind of robbed, and I think they deserve to feel robbed and deserve something. And I don't know what that is. That's why we don't work for La Liga. We don't want to make those decisions, but it's just so interesting to see that. I don't know, and I don't want to go into a whole tangent here, but what do you think about VAR and where it's going? I mean, should it just be turned off for good if this is going to be the case?
No, no, I don't think so. But the NFL with instant replay and all that, the challenges and so on, they have tweaked it over the years, and I think they've ultimately made it better. It's still not great. It'll never be great. You still have humans involved, but I think there maybe needs to be some tweaking to make it better. And I think that certainly La Liga or any league needs to be prepared for this kind of thing happening again. And what will they do the second they know it's not working? Do you suspend the game? Do you turn it off for the game? Like, what do you do? Because it seems
What's the
like
contingency plan, right?
there seemed to be no contingency plan. Like, how in the world does that take place?
Well,
Um,
maybe Vallecano takes a little bit of blame here, right? It was hosted at their stadium. I mean, that is a little bit on them. I know it's not them as the company hosting it and making it work, but that's your stadium. You got to make sure your stuff's working. So I will say that is a tad bit on them for club officials not ensuring everything is ready to go. I mean, I've worked in these clubs, and there's people that simply have very minute jobs, but very important jobs to make sure things like this don't happen, right? And to kind of go to your point, Dad, I mean, I honestly think VAR should go for now until they can figure out a better plan, like you said, to tweak and make it better. I think it's taken love out of the game. It's taken joy out of the game in ways, making fans wait to celebrate, ruining big moments. I think there's got to be a better way to do it. There's so much technology now. For example, you brought up the NFL. They finally brought in that technology they use in tennis to check if the ball's over the line or not. They
yeah,
brought that in for first downs now. Like,
yep.
I struggle to find FIFA not being able to figure these things out easier, and bring human error out of the equation. But at the end of the day, it's an entertainment product. Maybe they want all of this. Who knows? Who
Hey,
knows, right?
we're talking about it, so I guess that's what matters most is eyeballs and clicks. So, all right, well, let's wrap this sucker up for this week.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right too, and like you said, we're just doing this for the fans, for the people that have normal conversations like us. Maybe even Gianni Infantino will see this, like you said. I mean, we're talking about it for you, Gianni. So, if you want to leave a comment, let us know what's going on, or UEFA, any of the organizations you want to let us know what the deal is. We'd love to hear from you, and likewise, all of you guys as well. Appreciate the support after the first episode, and hopefully this episode as well. We're excited to be doing this, and would love for you all to keep subscribing, liking, and sharing this content. Share it with your friends, so we can keep growing this kind of little community we have going on right now.
Absolutely. Had a good time, buddy. Let's
Yeah,
do it again next week.
yeah, next week, and we'll be back with you on Friday as usual. But everyone enjoy international break, and we will see you all next week. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Take care.